Going live now.
Hi everyone, welcome to our egg hatching project. This is lesson 2. My name is Samantha Jameson and I work for the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach in Louisa County as a program director of 4-H, youth enrichment, and ag education. First, I would like to thank our sponsors who were what made this project possible. We have Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, Louisa County Farm Bureau, and the Community Foundation of Louisa County. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Abby Boyson, who is behind the camera. She will introduce herself and get started. We're going to be practicing our social distancing. It is more difficult because we are doing this by phone, but we're using gloves in order to keep ourselves safe.
My name is Abby Boyson, and I'm an employee for Louisa County Extension and Outreach in the Office of Vital of Healthy. I'm also a 4-H mom and a 4-H leader, so I have clubs Wamako and Clover Kids Barnyard Stompers, so I just want to shout out to all my little members in 4-H. And so today we're going to start with labeling the parts of the egg. Okay.
This is a review from last week. Last week we had cut open that egg, and so now we're just gonna test your skills and see what you guys remember.
So if we're looking at the first square, pointing at the little dot in the center of the yolk, what is that called? Can we get a definition?
All right, the definition is the white spot on the yolk where the embryo starts to grow.
Any guesses on what that might be called? It's called the germ spot. If you guessed that, you're correct. Okay, looking right here at the top of our egg, we have an arrow going here. Can you give us a definition of what that is?
Yes, this is the pocket of air at the large end of the egg.
Any guesses what that might be called? Take a moment, think about it. It's called the air cell.
And that air cell is going to be really important for these last couple days because that chick is starting to develop its lungs, and before it hatches, it's actually going to start to breathe inside the egg out of that air cell.
Okay, our next square or rectangle is right here, this area around the egg. Any guesses what that might be?
And a definition to help you guys out is that this protects the yolk and supplies the growing embryo with food and water.
It is the white. Okay. What about these two right here? Those little ropey looking things.
These are the twisted cords at the end of each yolk. These keep the yolk from moving around and the chick and from sticking to the shell.
I like to say this one. It's called the chalazi. I'm just going to say it again because I like to say it. Chalazi. Okay, going on to the next one. Looks like we're pointing to this outer part.
And that is the hard outer covering of a egg.
Oh,
I almost let it slip.
Did you guess it? If you said shell, you are correct. And we have one more, this bright gold part.
The yellow part of the egg is the first food source for the growing embryo.
Do you have any idea what that might be called? If you guessed yolk, you are correct. Yolk. Good job. Okay, so last week we opened up 8 eggs, okay? We're gonna revisit what we looked at last week, and then we're going to open more eggs here in just a moment. So going back to day 1, can you see that? Day 1, cells are already specializing, muscle, nerve, and digestive cells are appearing, the eyes and blood vessels begin to form. So that was the first day of our egg, okay? And day number 2, heart and ears form. and the heart begins to beat. So on day 2, we have a heartbeat happening. Okay. Day 3. Distinguishable head and tail, leg and wing buds can be seen. Specialized cells begin to form tongue, liver, kidneys, and lungs. Day 4. Toes begin to form, mostly present but tiny. Embryo separates from the yolk. Day 5. Reproductive organs develop, leg bones form. Does it look like anything yet? Day 6. The beak becomes visible, wing bends at the elbow, intestines begin to loop. Day 7. Feather buds appear. Eye develops rapidly. Knees start to bend. Starting to take shape. Day 8. More feather buds appear and the egg tooth forms.
And remember last time how we talked about that egg tooth? That egg tooth is a special thing on a hatching chick's beak that is the strong part that helps them break out of the shell. This is going to fall off very soon after hatching, so your adult chickens will not have an egg tooth.
Okay, now we get to open an egg. So this is day 9. Does it look like anything? On day 9, eyelids and kneecaps develop. Chick moves more. Yolk is noticeably smaller. Day 10. Chick moves even more. Refined features begin to develop. Day 11. Oh, starting to look like something. There's more movement. Beak and bones begin to harden. And day 12. Development continues. Scales appear on legs. Are you recognizing a chicken yet? Can you see it? Day 13. Bones continue to harden. The wishbone is formed. Day 14. Oh, there's a chick. Something we can all recognize. The movement starts to slow. Skull hardens. Yolk is difficult to see. And day 15, which is the day we're at, scales, claws, and beak begin to firm. Growth continues. Organ development continues. Do you feel like we should move?
I feel like we need some movement.
Great.
So, if you guys want to join us, we are going to do the chicken dance.
Yay!
Hopefully you guys all remember it.
Okay, stand up and move.
Ready?
Yep.
How fast can you go?
Woo! We did
Good
it.
job, guys. All right.
Check your heart rate.
I hope you guys got moving. All right, we are going to now handle all of our eggs. So let's go check that out.
Okay. Should we introduce our egg family?
We should. Abby's family has named every single one of their eggs.
So what do we have?
And while she's doing that, I'm gonna go wash my hands because it's important to wash your hands before you touch any of the eggs because you might introduce some germs and bacteria. So she's gonna introduce while I go wash my hands.
Are you going to sing?
I am not gonna sing,
Okay.
but I'm gonna sing in my head.
Okay. So we have Stinky. Where's Stinky? Right here. He was named by my 4-year-old. And Happy. Then we have Jack Sparrow, Speedy, April, because our eggs are due April 1st, St. Patty, because it's March when we started this project, Spark, Ringer was named after some softball shoes, and Finch, for all of you softball lovers, this is Jenny Finch. Ronaldo, so Cristiano Ronaldo is a soccer player. Rocky is a Paw Patrol character. Spencer Lee, an Iowa favorite. And then Hope When we candled her last week before we named them, she wasn't moving very much, and we weren't very sure if she was going to make it and if she was growing in her little shell, but we finally saw some movement from Hope, so we're hopeful that she's going to stick around and hatch next week. And then Lucky was also the same way. Lucky didn't have much movement last week, but we did see him moving around, and we'll check him today to see if we've had any growth. So hopefully Lucky makes the cut.
All right, so if you guys remember from last time, we've got our candler. And remember, the candler is shining a bright light inside the egg, or so we can see inside the egg. We do have that shell to get through, so this just helps so we can see inside. So we are going to load eggs into our candler and see what we can find.
To get it to balance. There we go. This is Stinky.
All right. So that really bright portion down at the end, that is our air cell. You can see a little bit of a darker shaded yellow, and then there's the really dark part. That really dark part is our chick that is growing, and you can actually see that chick kind of move around if you look at the edges. You said Stinky was one of your most active chicks when you've candled them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's check out our next one. Later on, we're gonna do a special treat, and we're gonna actually turn off the lights, so that way we can look at the whole egg while we're candling it, and we can see some chicks actually move.
This was Happy. He's not
Not quite. Oh, we didn't have him quite balanced. Hold on.
There we go.
Okay, let's try again. So we've got the air cell. You can really actually see some movement down there if you're looking carefully. I'm looking over in the left corner, and that's where you can see the movement kind of going on. Yeah. So some of those dark spots, you might be able to recognize that head with the beak forming, or you might be able to recognize claws. So as we're loading the new one, reminder, this is what that chick is looking like on the inside if we were to crack open an egg. We're not going to do that because we want these eggs to actually keep developing so they can develop into full-grown chicks.
This is Jack Sparrow.
Any Pirates of the Caribbean fans out there? Trying to get the camera to focus. We'll try and reposition them, see if we can get a better angle. We're actually going to put the air cell at the top and see if we can see better that way.
Just doesn't want to balance. Come on.
There we go. Ooh, you can see a lot of blood vessels. Those thin lines inside of that egg, those are the blood vessels. Remember, we went through that last week. It's something that every animal has. It's what pumps blood throughout your entire body.
Any movement? Speedy.
Speedy has also been one that you guys have said has been really moving. So we'll see if he's moving around for us today. Not seeing much movement, but it might be nap time. Who knows?
April. There we go.
All right, let's take a look at April.
Oh, April shifted.
April moved while we tried to put the lid on. Let's try this again.
I'm gonna put her this way.
All right. Well, we can really see the air cell. You can kind of see a little bit of color change from the really dark to that really light air cell. If you can see some movement in there, let us know. We just candled her recently, within the last few days, so we know that she was moving when we candled her.
Same Patty, we haven't had much luck.
So remember how we said that the dark colored ones are really hard to see into because that shell is so much darker? Well, St. Patty is no different. You can see the light it's sitting on, but you can't see actually the egg. So we'll try and flip them around and see if we can see anything for the egg. But it is one of those darker shelled ones, so it's hard to see. You can really see that air cell. And you can see how it's green, but that shell's just too dark to get the light through. All right, next up we have Sparky. Can you guys hear that? So what the incubator was just doing is that it means it was time for the eggs to rotate. And this section right here has a gear on the bottom. And that gear will sit right here and make this turning insert move. So it'll just go like this. And all those eggs are gonna move as that gear shifts them. And remember that gear moving the eggs, the reason that those eggs need to turn is so they don't get stuck on the sides of the shell. So we will make sure to turn those eggs manually later on, just because they missed out on the incubator actually turning them. So we have Sparky, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not seeing anything that way. Let's flip them over and try the other way. So now we're gonna have the air cell down. All right, so you can see the air cell. You can see that darker yellow, and that darker yellow is where you might be able to see some movement, especially if you're looking at that blackish section where the chick actually is. You might be able to see some black moving in that darker section. If you look really carefully, I think I can see a claw moving, but it's kind of hard to see. Let's check out
Ringer.
Woohoo.
I'm putting him here, so down. There we go.
All right, let's see what Ringer's got for us. Got a nice air cell. Got some blood vessels. That dark part is the chick. Oh, there he goes. You can see Ringer moving in there. We're watching that dark part. You see how it's kind of moving around. There we go. All right, let's check out Finch. And remember, we're gonna candle one of these eggs in the dark room, so that way we can see the actual entire egg and not just what we're looking through this eyepiece on to see some movement. So over on your left side is the head and the body. And over on the right, you can see the long, darker piece. That would be its back feet, curled up in the egg. So if you look carefully, you might be able to see some movement. They just might not be as active as they were earlier. Let's see what Ronaldo's got for us. All right. Yeah, you can see, if you're looking at the outline of that dark part of the chick, you can see that the chick is moving around. Very interesting. All right, got another green one coming up. This one's been hard to see because remember, it's a green shell. And Rocky is just, it was difficult to see when you guys candled it earlier. So we'll see if we can see much of anything. All right. Got the air cell.
really
but
dark.
it's really dark. Yeah, it's really dark, so you can't really see much contrast to see if that chick is moving around inside. So we'll just hope that he hatches. But remember, it's not going to be 100% hatch rate every single time. So just prepare that out of these 14, not all of them might make it. All right, we got Spencer, Lee, and then we got 2 more. Got a really good air cell. There he goes. If you're looking over on the left side, you kind of saw some movement there. All right. Now remember, these last 2, Hope and Lucky, those were the ones that were having trouble earlier. So we might not be able to see them because they might have been having a hard time. But we'll see if we can see them and see any movement. And the camera is not wanting to focus on it right now. There we go. So we got the air cell. There's the darker orange, and then there's the really dark spot of the outline of the chick. And I'm not seeing any movement, unless you guys do.
But it's getting bigger, so...
Yeah, it is growing, so that is a positive. Okay.
Last one.
All right, let's check out Lucky. All right. Man, look at that, those spots on that shell. Oh, you can see a lot of movement in Lucky, actually. Go Lucky. So that air cell is showing you how much more spotted this shell was on the outside. That's normal. Spots on shells are very much normal. You can definitely see some movement going on down at the bottom where that darker part is, where that chick is. Now she might be shy because she's not moving around as much as she was just a bit ago. Or he. You don't know what the sex of these eggs are, whether they're male or female, until after they've hatched. And it's actually really hard to tell which one is actually going to be male or female until they're actually adults. So we are going to do our special treat, and we're gonna pick one of the eggs that were kind of moving better and show them off in the dark. We're just gonna take our candler, and I put this black ring on it to help stabilize the egg and keep the light out from coming in and ruining our little experiment.
Who is moving well? We candled Spencer Lee earlier.
I think Speedy was moving pretty good.
Okay,
Let's try Speedy.
Okay.
Right there. You got Stinky.
Oh, that's Stinky. Stinky. Oops. Okay, I've got Speedy.
All right, so we're going to be turning off the lights to make it extra dark. And we're going to have to move to a different section of the room just because we have windows. So there's no windows, so you guys went pitch black. I'm going to turn on our candler, which also serves as a flashlight. We're going to walk over here, and we're going to set up our candler. Put the egg on top. Let's see if we can get a good angle. All right. Are you guys seeing any movement?
More light on this side.
not seeing much, but they might have gone to sleep.
Should we flip him?
We can try flipping him, and we might just try and get a new egg. All right, so we got the air cell pointing down. You can see the head. You can see my finger, the head is over here.
Oh, there's movement over here on
Let's bring this closer
this
to you.
side.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. I can rotate him towards you. Can you see the movement in there?
Oh, I can see the
There.
movement, but I don't know if you guys can. Right in the middle. There we go. Not super active, but at least moving. Oh, we got some kicking over here. There we go. There's some movement for you guys. All right, we're gonna try out another egg.
See if
Careful for the bright light.
Spencer gives us a show today. See on there?
Yes. All right, let's watch Spencer Lee. We got some movement. Can you guys see it? Over here we got movement. And up towards here. Got a little bit of movement. They're not super active, but they're at least moving. Let's try and rotate him a little bit. Maybe that'll help you guys see.
Oh.
All right, let's try putting the air cell down. So you can, oh, there we go. Just flip them over for a different angle. Now we can see a whole bunch of movement. Look at Spencer Lee, he's pinning someone in there. And you can see those nice thin lines. Those are your blood vessels. All right. Okay, let's turn on the lights and we'll get on with the rest of our lesson. That was fun to see those chicks moving around inside, wasn't it? All right, so then Abby is gonna go through what's gonna happen between now and hatch day. And it's just gonna be similar to opening up our countdown to hatch eggs, which we will do, but this is just gonna be a little bit of an overview of what to expect over the next couple days.
On days 16 and 17, the embryo begins to move itself into position for hatching. Tucking its head under its right wing, the renal system begins to produce waste. On day 18, the process of the embryo absorbing the yolk of the egg into its stomach begins. This makes it possible for hatching chicks to survive for up to 48 hours without food or water after it's hatched. They live off of the yolk. On day 19, the process of the embryo absorbing the yolk is speeding up. The chick now fills most of the egg and is ready to start hatching. Once they've hatched, we will transfer the eggs to the cage 12 to 24 hours after hatching. Do not keep the chicks in the incubator for over 24 hours because they will become dehydrated.
Dehydrated is a fancy word for being really, really thirsty. So if you guys have gone out on a run and your throat feels all scratchy and dry, it's similar to what you would feel like if you would be dehydrated. So you just have to get something to drink.
Once we place the chicks in the tote, we will dip their beaks in the water so they know where it is. We will also put feed on the bottom of the tote so they can easily find it their first few days. It's possible that not all of our eggs will hatch, and it's possible that they won't all hatch at the same time.
So we're gonna try and put some kind of live feed for you guys to watch them hatch. We will let you guys know how that's gonna work later on when we get that figured out. So I am going to share a little bit about our incubator and what's gonna happen on day 18. Abby was getting ahead of ourselves and showing us the brooder. So on day 18, that turning insert is going to be taken out because we don't want those eggs to continue to rotate during those important processes of the yolk absorption. We also don't want when that chick is moving into place to be able to hatch, to move him around or her while it's getting ready. So on day 18, we're going to take out the turning insert and replace it with this cardboard hatch mat. And this is just going to make it easier or clean up when they hatch, because they're going to come out all gooey and sticky. And so we can just throw this away and kind of make it easier for us to clean. Another thing is that we will add more water to this pot right here. And that water goes inside to right there. And for these first couple of days, the first 18 days, we just wanted some water on one side. We didn't want water on both sides. But after day 18, we're going to want water to fill both sides. And then this insert is just there so that way when the chicks hatch, they don't actually fall in and potentially drown. But we want that higher humidity or higher water in the air because it helps make that shell easier to break for those eggs, for those chicks to break the shells of the eggs. There we go. All right, so after those 12 to 24 hours after the last chick is hatched, we're going to move them over into our brooding system. So this brooding system is very simple. A lot of farmers will use box or some kind of tank or cage for these chicks to grow in. We're going to provide water. So we fill this up with water. We take this lid, put it on top, make it nice and tight without spilling the water. And what I'm doing right now would spill water. So I'm not doing it quite right. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to set it on there. But remember how we said we're going to dip the chicks' heads into that water? So that way they know where to find the water. Well, it's similar to like when you guys were babies and you knew that mom was going to provide you food. Once we do that, they're going to know where to find that water. Same with food. We're going to fill it up in here. We've got this medicated feed, and that's going to help for the chicks to avoid getting sick. And they're just these little crumbles. Something very easy for them to get with their beaks and digest or eat. So we'll fill this container up, put the lid on, flip it over and set it in too. So these chicks, they have shelter, they've got water, they've got food. What's the other need that these chicks have to have? It's similar to what you guys need. Everyone needs shelter, they need water, they need food, and there's one more need. Can you guys get it? It's warmth. So how we provide warmth for these chicks is this brooding plate. Other farmers may use a heat lamp, which is just a really hot light bulb that they plug in and they just have hang over the system. Since we were going into kindergarten classrooms, we wanted to be safer and not potentially have a fire hazard or something hot that the kindergartners might touch. So this brooding plate is special in that the chicks will go underneath, but they have to actually touch this bottom of the plate in order to get warm. So if they're sitting away from the plate, if this is too high for them and they can't touch it, they have to heat. A plate that does that, they can get the heat from sitting on top too. Because they might be able to get on top, we'll put this netting around the brooding area, the brooder plate area, so that way they can't potentially jump out. So this is what our brooding system will look like. We'll just put the chicks in there after they dry off in the incubator. This bedding is shaved wood, and that's what's going to help keep them dry. It's going to help make it easier for us to clean up after they've used the restroom, because they'll just use the restroom in here. We won't take them to the bathroom, and they won't go on the toilet. They'll just use it in here. But yeah, that is what our brooding system will look like. So, next Wednesday, April 1st, it is not an April Fool's joke, the chicks will be hatching. So, follow our Facebook page, and we will let you know how to watch those chicks live hatch. And then we will have our final lesson next week, and we will talk about how those baby chicks will grow up and what they will do after they grow up. Thank you guys for tuning in.